Okay, so this week we're going to be talking about Maestro.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
No, I'm just excited to talk about it because I know how much you hate it.
Maestro is not the kind of film that I would naturally gravitate towards watching. Part of that is because it's a biopic. And I do not like biopics.
Right.
The closest one that I've come to liking in recent times is the... Did you see the Weird Al parody biopic?
Oh, the Daniel Radcliffe one.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it. I had a bit of a Daniel Radcliffe binge where I watched... Because I had seen Swiss Army Man, which is great.
Yeah, I like that one.
Mostly because of Paul Dano, but
Yeah.
also Daniel Radcliffe's good in it. And then I tried watching Guns Akimbo and... Is it Horns?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I didn't make it very far in either of them, I have to say. And it was no slight on him. And honestly, I have a lot of respect for him for choosing those roles.
Yeah, he takes a lot of swings.
He does, yeah.
Does he play Ginsberg or someone?
Oh.
He's in a film about beat poetry as well, I'm sure. We are so far off Maestro already, but...
Oh, it's so surprising when I type Daniel Radcliffe in. All of the Harry Potter's gone.
Oh, really? Well, that's a shocker.
Yeah, it's so funny, isn't it?
There's a scene in the Weird Al one where he's like, oh my goodness, I can't come up with any ideas, I'm having such a hard time. And one of his roommates says to him, can you make us a sandwich, Al? There's my bologna on the side there. And then he hears my Sharona come on the radio and he's like, wait a second. And it sort of coalesces into that moment of discovery of coming up with a song, right?
That's a really interesting moment in specifically the music biopic.
Yeah.
I feel like there are two types. There's the biopic of like a figure in history, and then there are the music ones. And I tend to prefer the music ones, you know, like Ray, Walk the Line, amazing films. Have you seen Tick Tick Boom?
No, that's about the guy that wrote Rent, right?
Exactly, yeah. So there's a moment in it where Andrew Garfield, who plays Jonathan Larson, a lot of the film is about the problems with writing, like the difficulty in writing a song, and it does that really well. And then there's this moment where something very serious is happening in his personal life, and that's the click to the song. And so he starts tapping, and the person that he's with is like, are you fucking joking?
Yeah.
Like, you're thinking of the song. And I remember watching that scene and being like, he's a musician, he's a composer, of course he's thinking about the song, like, why are you surprised? And I get that the point of that scene was to be like, you know, he's obsessive and he's always, it's like, the dude has been trying to write this song for however many months, and now he's finally had a breakthrough, and so he's tapping his fingers a bit. That's a good thing.
There's something that can feel a little bit trite and contrived about trying to distill someone's big moments of their life into this vignette within a film. And I think you potentially get a lot of that from a biopic. In fairness, I don't think Maestro actually does too much wrong in that sense. I think my real problem with Maestro is that it, you know the phrase, it insists upon itself?
Yeah.
It is so self-indulgent. And maybe this is me just sort of buying into a narrative, but it's so cynical in its obvious attempt to win Bradley Cooper Oscars. It feels empty somehow. There's always Oscars films like that feel like a means to an end despite the source material. However serious or important the source material is, it feels more like a tool for them to win an award.
And I think the best example of that is Kate Winslet in Extras. Do you remember her episode?
That sounds familiar. I haven't watched Extras for a long time, though.
It's worth rewatching. It really holds up. So in that episode, she is playing a nun during the Holocaust.
Yes.
And she's actively, it's just so that she can get an Oscar. It's so good.
Yes, exactly. It's exactly that. She's like smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
in a habit out back with him, like, oh yeah, I'll probably win another Oscar for this.
You have to do a Holocaust film to win an Oscar. That's how it works.
Yes.
So going back to the Bradley Cooper show, it's I watched it back to back after A Star Is Born, having not seen either.
Okay, I did not see A Star Is Born, to be fair.
Yeah. So
which again, again with A Star Is Born. A Star Is Born is made every single generation with the cynical intent to win awards for the people that take part in it, right?
For sure. And there's actually an amazing episode of What Went Wrong about A Star Is Born, and they go through all of the different versions. And how long it took them to make the 2018 version is unbelievable.
What, they knocked it out in a weekend, or?
No, no, as in, like, they first approached Bradley Cooper so long before making it that he turned it down because he was too young to play the role, and then by the time it came back around, he was old enough to play the role. So
oh wow,
it's worth listening to the episode. It's really, it's kind of baffling, the different versions that could have been of that film.
Wow. Okay.
So Maestro, it was out at Christmas.
I think I watched it in the cold light of the new year.
Oh yeah, no, that I was like definitely the December side of New Year, and It was, you know, it has this golden age Hollywood nostalgia, the cinematography, the scale of it, and I did get caught in that, and I enjoyed that. And at the same time, I honestly spent the first 40 minutes looking at his nose and being like, I don't feel like this is okay.
That was the real co-star of the film. It wasn't Carey Mulligan, it was the nose.
The nose. And arguably the nose got more attention than Carey Mulligan.
Yeah, true, actually. Yeah.
And I think that, you know, it's something that I've done a little bit of reading around it, and one of the things that kind of stopped the conversation about it is that Leonard Bernstein's children came out and said the nose is fine, and so everyone stopped talking about it. And I'm kind of like, just because they think it's fine doesn't make it okay. The fact that they are not offended is great. But that doesn't mean that other people aren't deeply offended by the fact that an actor who already has a fairly substantial nose wore a prosthetic nose to make it even bigger than the person that he's playing. And I think the argument is it made him look more like Leonard Bernstein. So it's like, okay, so what you're saying is that he's not a good enough actor to play Leonard Bernstein without the nose, which I don't think is true, because I think he actually did a really good job of portraying him.
Yeah, I don't think he did a bad job, yeah.
But it stops him. It actually hinders the performance, because you can hear him going really nasal like this because the thing is pinching his nose.
It's that line into caricature almost, right?
It is caricature, exactly. And it's a caricature of a very historically charged thing. To say that it was just the nose is really insulting.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at some pictures of Leonard Bernstein right now, but like as a young man, he has a pretty normal Bradley Cooper kind of nose.
Bradley Cooper has the same size nose as him. That's why I was like, you know, if it was like little button nose, then fair, but it's not.
That would be different. And you're right, he does have that sort of like, it's me, Leonard Bernstein kind of thing going on. Which is so unnecessary.
I feel like I could see your hands moving. One thing that I think it did do well is that when you're faced with this mammoth task of reducing an entire life down to a 90-minute-ish film,
it is a stick that they make for their own backs.
What?
You said when you're faced with a mammoth task of doing this, they did not have to do this.
No, okay, but like let's say you want to do it, and then then you've got to do it.
I disagree with your right to do it.
My point is to focus on a single element, which here was the marriage, I thought was a really wise choice.
I do agree with that. It gives it a through line, which there's always something to sort of hang on to, rather than it just being completely disconnected vignettes.
It means that we get to see these really heartbreaking moments in the doctor's office, in bed, when her friends come to visit, from her perspective, in a way that I don't know that we would if the marriage wasn't central.
Carey Mulligan was fantastic in this as well.
She was amazing. Yeah, she was fantastic.
She's been, everything I've seen her in, she's been fantastic in. Elvis is a worse offender for me than Maestro even. Elvis, I was actively wanting to turn it off the whole time.
Why?
The classic biopic issues that you get are abundant throughout. And if you want to talk about like big fake noses, Tom Hanks.
Oh no.
And doing this accent as well, this insane accent. Yeah, look up a picture of Tom Hanks in Elvis.
Oh, what? Yeah. But again, the nose, like I've got these like side by side pictures of him with the real guy. The real guy doesn't have a massive nose. Like, why?
I don't know.
Okay, I have a theory. There's someone working in Hollywood who their thing is making noses.
Oh my God, there's some guy that's like someone's nephew that has a
Just loves
warehouse
making noses.
full of prosthetic noses. You know what really bumped this film up a little bit is a few prosthetic noses.
For me, Maestro did that era of Hollywood. I do love. I grew up with it. It resonates, and I felt like it honored that and it referenced it in a really beautiful way. And at the same time, there are a couple of times when they argue, and the blocking and the cinematography was so intentional that I was just kind of blown away by it. There's a point where they're both in the garden and they sit and you're really far away down the lane, and the camera, I don't think it's moving, or if it is, it's very slow, but you're just in a basically static shot, and you've got the fences framing them in, and they're having this argument, and it's so passive aggressive. None of their lines are actually arguing. It's all very like, well, if you want to do that, then do that. And like, but I just want to check what you want to do. And I thought that scene was so well written,
right,
to show that erosion of trust in a marriage where they're just completely missing what the other one is saying, and at the same time totally hiding what they actually want to say. And I thought that was brilliant.
Part of my problem with biopics in general, and Maestro in particular, is that you can get these really interesting, well-told vignettes and scenes within them. But as a whole, I would rather see something where it is a solid fictional narrative that has been constructed, even if it's based on the real life story of X, Y, or Z, but you dispense with the need for sort of doing these bits and piecey approaches, and you just focus on one clear, interesting story about a marriage, about a family, about a relationship, whatever it is. You know, there are plenty of fictional films that do that. I know it's a bizarre thing to pick, but Eternal Sunshine. Right, it's a fictional film about a relationship.
I see. I was like, what is the link there?
It's a very strange film to pick, but it's a fictional film about a relationship.
Also very fragmented, but in a really successful way.
It's very fragmented in service of a narrative. It's not very fragmented in service of a person's life.
Yeah, it's the only way to tell that story.
Yeah, exactly. Everything Charlie Kaufman does is like about the story, right? Like adaptation is just an absolute wankfest over that in such a good way. I'm not. When I say wankfest, I mean in the best. But there's one of my favorite. films.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think, and this. I mean, I don't want to keep going back to the nose, but this is literally the point. Does it serve the story? No, it doesn't. It serves something else, and so it's distracting. There was this story as well that came out about how Jake Gyllenhaal had wanted to make a Leonard Bernstein film for like 20 years, and so part of the discussion was, you know, a Jewish actor and filmmaker has been denied the opportunity of making this film when it's been given to a non-Jewish filmmaker and actor. And it's very easy to say, look, he wanted it and he didn't get it. And I actually found an interview with Jake Gyllenhaal where I think it's in Forbes, and he's basically like, lots of us have ideas. There are lots of things we want to do. We don't always get to do them. Yeah, I wanted to do it, but it's fine, which I think is a really like solid response to it. And also Bradley Cooper had learned how to conduct as a child. Like, he'd been obsessed with Leonard Bernstein since he was really small.
I always loved conducting as a kid. I would spend hundreds of hours. I knew there was this huge idea of a conductor, and of course, because of that, I would always sort of imagine it. And in grad school, we had to write a monologue, and I chose a conductor and wrote a monologue about it.
I do think he spent a long time on that one scene in particular where he's conducting. Is it in a church towards the end of the film? It's like a really famous Bernstein performance.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I know that he had put a lot of effort and a lot of time into learning how to conduct that in a very specific way, which was very true to how Bernstein himself had conducted.
Josh Singer, who co-wrote the screenplay, said, no matter how many books I read, Bradley read more books. No matter how many videos I watched, Bradley watched more videos.
Within this question of like, who has the right to tell what stories, there's an amazing interview with Denzel Washington. I think it was for the film Fences a few years back.
So why did he need a black director? Could a white director not have?
It's not color, it's culture. You know, I know, you know, we all know what it is when a hot comb hits your hair on a Sunday morning, what it smells like. That's a cultural difference.
He says it's about culture. It's about understanding the culture. And his comparison is brilliant because he says, you know, Scorsese did Goodfellas and Spielberg did Schindler's List, and they could have both directed the other one, but it's about understanding the culture. And this is where the nose comes back in, because if you really understood the culture, you wouldn't even consider wearing a prosthetic nose.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's Fagin from the 1800s, right?
But the most baffling thing is to then be nominated for an Academy Award for prosthetics was like the biggest denial of that.
Yeah, the narrative, and again, it's like you say with the family approving it and okaying it, that sort of just completely gave license to ending that conversation, right, as to whether that was an okay thing to do or not.
Yeah. Anyway, that's one of my main things that I dislike about it, and now I can be all for it.
Oh, interesting. So you really liked it other than that?
I feel like it would be dishonest to say that I didn't like it, because while I was watching it, I was totally invested. There were scenes that were absolutely stunning. I was really on the journey. I was moved by it. And it was more after watching it, as it settled, that I was like, I don't know how good it was. But at the time, I loved it.
One of the scenes that I distinctly remember annoying me was the first time that he meets Carey Mulligan, his wife-to-be. One of their first conversations, I think he pulls her into some sort of booth.
Oh, they're smoking on the balcony or in the...
Oh, is it that? Yeah, so he pulls her aside and they have this conversation.
The CV conversation.
Exactly. To me, it felt like a massive exposition dump. And then, you know, we're all caught up with who these two people are.
Going back to the biopic element and it being real, like, they did meet at a party.
I'm sure they did. But, like, exposition dumping like that also may be something that we do in real life.
It's the kind of conversation you would have when you meet someone at a party, but that's not necessarily what we want to see in a film.
No, I just want to see like that back and forth conveyed in a more subtle and interesting kind of way. Mm-hmm. One of the other things that you've mentioned as well is liking that golden age of Hollywood, and I feel like there is a strain in Hollywood filmmaking which is so far up its own arse that they almost think that it's enough to just give you Hollywood's greatest hits to some extent. Anything that you could say, it's a love letter to the movies, I think can probably fuck right off. Because I don't want a love letter to the movies. I want to see a good movie. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to see people...
I want to write my own letter to the movies.
Yeah, and it's a strongly worded letter to the editor of the movies. I don't like anything which is so reverential and so...
like self-indulgent.
Self-indulgent, yeah, but so sort of enamored with... Like in Star Wars films, where they will give you, in the modern sort of Star Wars sort of era, where there's a lot of fan service.
Yeah.
It's fan service to fans of Hollywood. I think that's what irritates me. I don't like that kind of fan service feeling.
Because it is about Leonard Bernstein, and he was such a part of that, it would have been impossible to make a film about him without an element of that, at least. Actually, I suppose there was a way of doing it where you can see him more in the production process, or you could see him behind the scenes. Like they seem to have made a very conscious decision to have nothing to do with West Side Story in the film. Yep. Which is also kind of baffling.
You don't actually see him work a lot.
none of the like, oh, I've come up with a song.
No, which I guess is kind of good in a way. There weren't really those moments. I didn't know anything about Leonard Bernstein going into this film.
Yeah. And
I know now, having watched the film, that he was a composer, he was married, and he was probably bisexual.
Well, he was definitely bisexual. The conversation is more like, was he gay and married rather than...
Sure. I don't think there is a sort of definitive answer on that, is there? My point there is more that, like, I don't know that I would have come away from this film knowing that he had anything to do with West Side Story.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, which is kind of impressive, actually, in some ways, to have done that. It seems like it was quite intentional, and I think that he, especially in his later life, he didn't want to be known as the person who wrote West Side Story.
Sure.
And so there's an element of honoring that, but it's like, yeah, but I mean, the dude still wrote West Side Story, which was like game changer, and why is that not really acknowledged?
Yeah, it's a bit like Leonardo DiCaprio not wanting to be remembered for like being in Titanic, right?
Okay, can we talk about the fact that he was doing all of the jobs?
What, Bradley Cooper?
Yeah.
So screenwriting, acting, directing,
Yeah.
best boy,
Spark.
Spark, yeah.
Because he directed A Star Is Born as well.
Yeah.
It is impressive. As a debut, very impressive. This film as well, I do think it's impressive. I think there are a lot of scenes that are really interesting in the way that they're constructed. The cinematography choices. There's an interview where he's talking about the scene with his daughter, where she asks him a difficult question and he's trying to decide how he answers it.
In that scene, when I tell her, she says, is it true, Daddy? And he says, no, darling. And then she says, I'm so relieved. And we were in there and it was as if Lenny was there. He's like, tell her the truth, dude. And I'm not kidding. In my mind, I'm like, I got to tell her. And so I then started to think, well, this is happening in real time in the movie you just saw. He's going, well, if I tell her, then there's going to be a scene I have to write where Felicia is upset. Honestly, upset. So then what happens there? So then, she's already upset. So then I don't have to compose. So maybe mass doesn't happen. So then when does the fight happen? God, yeah. And then you see my head go like this. And then I go, oh, f it. I'm like, let's go.
That's really funny.
That's literally what was happening.
In this interview, he talks about how what he loves about directing as an actor is that he can direct from within a scene and nudge the actors in the right direction. But then when he's talking about that scene, he says that he was so in the scene that he felt like he was Leonard Bernstein and he didn't know like how to answer this question and whether he was like, maybe I could tell her. And it's like, how the fuck are you directing if you don't even remember if you're the actor or not?
Yeah, that sounds like a bad idea, doesn't it?
It does sound like a bad idea. Like, I think whether you can do it and whether you should do it are different questions.
Well, because one of the things about being a really good filmmaker, business person, anything is having an eye for delegation.
Exactly, especially as a director.
Well, 100%. Yeah, I mean, having people around you that you trust to be delivering on your vision autonomously is a big part of what makes you good at doing this, right? And also, I don't want to shit on Bradley Cooper too much. I know I probably already have done, but I was thinking about this the other day. One of the things to always remember with some of these people is, and Bradley Cooper's a great example of it, they are pretty much the 1% in terms of the ability to get this sort of shit made and sometimes the talent level with like some of these aspects, the talent level, like he's a great actor.
He is a really, really good actor, and to have gone from The Hangover to this is a really impressive career trajectory as well.
And I think often comedy actors do well as dramatic actors because comedy acting is harder. Right? Having that sort of rhythm for comedy acting, Jim Carrey, Steve Carell, those sorts of people that they can do it all. And yeah, the fact that he started off was he in anything before The Hangovers? I mean, he must have been, right?
For me, it's Silver Linings Playbook is where he really shone.
Right, okay.
Going back to the kind of obsession and like who is the right person to tell this story.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of, again, this is a very rogue comparison. So Judas and the Black Messiah.
Oh, yes.
Daniel Kaluuya plays Fred Hampton in the film and talks about understanding not just how to portray this person, but how to, like, who he was, what he was reading the same books, he was listening to the same music. He like really wanted to understand how he thought.
Yeah.
But there was no mention of like, oh yeah, he was channeling him or like he had to do an exorcism or something afterwards.
Didn't he say something like that?
I put on the nose and I could really feel him.
Yes, he said it in an interview with, I think, Leonard Bernstein's family. And it was really uncomfortable.
Leonard Bernstein died from a heart attack in 1990 at the age of 72. He and Bradley Cooper never met.
Do you miss him?
It's hard to talk about. But he was with us, he was with me certainly throughout the entire time. His energy has somehow found its way to me.
It's deeply, deeply pretentious, and it also speaks to this trying to aggrandize yourself beyond the field of acting, right? It's turning you into, a channeler of spirits, like a medium, rather than just someone who puts on a big fake nose and does a voice.
Goes down to your local nose guy.
Yeah, it goes down to the nose warehouse in Hollywood.
Colin Farrell as the Penguin is wearing a fake nose.
Sure.
And it feels necessary.
It feels like part of a larger prosthetic transformation.
That's it. I was trying to work out why it feels okay, and it's because it's not just the nose.
There's another recent example of big nose, right?
Oh, right, with Bob Dylan.
Yeah. And it's way more subtle than what's going on in Maestro, but it's another bizarre choice.
Yeah, and interesting as well because Timothée Chalamet is Jewish.
Yeah, and I don't think they did that with anyone in... Is it I'm Not Here?
Which one's that?
I'm Not There. That's what it was called. But you've got a bunch of different people playing sort of different, inspired by Bob Dylan characters, but they're basically just Bob Dylan, right?
Wow, with Heath Ledger.
So you've got, Heath Ledger, I think Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Richard Gere.
Wow, I mean, Cate Blanchett looks like the most convincing, actually, out of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely the closest to a specific... And she's the image that you think of when you think of that film.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they didn't slap a nose on anyone, I don't think, when they were doing that one.
No, because you don't need it.
Because it's not necessary.
You don't need it.
Yes,
and that's
exactly.
the same thing with Timothée Chalamet. Why does he... He's a decent actor. Why is he wearing this nose?
Boggles the mind. It does go back to the idea that there may be some kind of
conspiracy warehouse.
Well, conspiracy warehouse, but also sense that you might win an Oscar if you slap on a bit of prosthetics, right?
Yeah, as if that makes you a better actor when it's the opposite, right? It's like if you can convince me that you are this person without prosthetics, you are a better actor.
The only thing I would say to play devil's advocate slightly,
I hate that phrase so much.
Is that
basically means I'm going to be a dick and you can't say anything about it.
Well, there is I think there's a specific, or there was at least a specific office within the Catholic Church, right? Advocatus Diaboli or something, which is to do with getting people in to come and play devil's advocate. Anyway.
What? Is that true?
I think so, yeah. Advocatus Diaboli. Formal official position in the Catholic Church where a person would argue against the canonization of a candidate for sainthood.
Oh.
There you go. And the reason I know that is because I think that Christopher Hitchens was that role for Mother Teresa, because he hated Mother Teresa. And he wrote a book which is called... Oh my God, I forget what it's called because he had a couple of different names for it. Well, one of them was Holy Cow.
Oh, brutal.
Which is good. Oh my God, the actual title was The Missionary Position.
Oh my God, if you'd have said that at first, I would not have believed you. I would have thought you were making it up.
To play devil's advocate with the nose.
Yes.
I have heard people say that an element of prosthesis or a wig or a specific costume, or with many actors it can be a voice that they're putting on. Those sorts of things help them to get into a different mindset and get into feeling like a different character with just that slight additional thing that they put on. So I can understand that it may be a helpful tool in some instances for some actors to use that sort of thing.
This is an actor who convincingly put his hand in an empty box and was suffering excruciating pain in June. Does he really need to put on a fake nose to play a character? I just don't believe it.
But you remember in June, he had a bit of a funny costume on. So, same rules apply.
Yeah, but he can have a funny costume in this and a guitar. That. If you're forgetting who you're supposed to be playing, Just like get your harmonica out.
I do not think he needed the prosthesis. I'm not saying that.
I don't think he did. Like, you know, in Babylon, I know you didn't like that film, but there's a bit where Brad Pitt is like waiting in a tent to go out and shoot the scene that they've like cameras broken again, and there's like all this pandemonium going on around, and he's just trying on all these different fake noses while he's having a conversation, and then he ends up just like taking it off and throwing it away, and I was like, exactly, because you don't need it. It's not adding anything to this at all.
That is not something that I feel like I've seen in movies for a long time, and then we have just off the top of our heads come up with very recent examples of big fake noses which are so unnecessary. Something's afoot.
So I did just think of another one, which is also Tom Hanks, but I do think it's more valid, which is Cloud Atlas.
Does he have a big fake nose in Cloud Atlas?
Well, they're just all wearing prosthetics all the time, and he does have a big fake nose when he's playing the Irish writer.
Oh right, okay. Oh my god, yeah.
It's a bad one, yeah.
Oh that is bad. Wait, if I just search big fake noses, what am I gonna get? Oh wow.
Oh no.
So this is Google's generative AI feature giving me the top 5 big fake nose films. Okay. What do you think they are?
Ooh. Maestro.
Maestro is in there. Maestro
Good.
makes the
I'd
list.
have been really angry if it wasn't in there. Is it first or is it?
Maestro is third. I don't know if this is
Maestro
in order
is
of size of nose, but it's it's in there.
Okay. Big fake noses. I'm drawing a blank. Can you give me a clue?
Okay, so one of them is a Scorsese film.
Is it The Irishman?
It's not, but that wouldn't be a bad shout because there's some prosthetics going on in that, aren't there?
Yeah. I'm trying to think when there's a big fake... Do they have big fake noses in Goodfellas?
No, it's Raging Bull.
Who's got a fake nose in Raging Bull?
I'm pretty sure he wears a fake nose to play the boxer. To play Jake LaMotta.
That makes sense. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's not a crazy big, like silly nose, but it's, you know, it is a fake nose film. This is a hard list to get. One of them, I will give you one clue for one other one.
One more clue, yeah.
So this one is a Rob Reiner film. Is that enough? A Rob Reiner film. So Billy Crystal wears the big fake nose.
Oh, The Princess Bride.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
I mean, that's actually super interesting because for Billy Crystal to wear a big fake nose is a whole other...
And I mean, that's in a fantasy context as well, so that is a bit...
And he's still... It doesn't matter that he's wearing... This is also my point. It doesn't even matter that he's wearing a fake nose. You know that it's Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
So then it becomes funny that he's wearing a nose.
Yeah.
I wasn't watching Maestro thinking, wow, Bradley Cooper looks so much like Leonard Bernstein. I was watching it being like, why the fuck is he wearing that nose?
I mean, I was watching it thinking, wow, that nose wears Bradley Cooper so well. Just quickly, the other two that are on there are A Touch of Evil, Orson Welles, where he wears a prosthetic nose as the police captain, and The Hours with Nicole Kidman.
Oh.
In fact, 3 of these films, now I'm thinking about it. So the literal description that it says under The Hours is Nicole Kidman wore a fake nose in this film, which some say bolstered her awards chances.
What?
Under Raging Bull, it says Robert De Niro wore a fake nose and gained weight to play boxer Jake LaMotta in the 1980 film. De Niro won the Best Actor Oscar for his performance. See a trend emerging? Bradley Cooper was running the numbers. Or he was just... The guy at the prosthetics warehouse was like, this is what's going to get you an Oscar, buddy. It's a big
You want to get an
nose.
Oscar, you need a nose. Just bottom line.
The top shelf noses in the big nose prosthetics warehouse. There's something there. There's something going on in Hollywood.
Some kind of nose conspiracy.
But you know, the Academy is very sort of bought by the productions that are put on, right? So the part of their marketing budget is to juice the Academy, as it were, however they go about doing that. But within that context, is there a question as to whether the guy with the big fake nose prosthetics warehouse is putting a bunch of money into the Academy to get them on side with big fake nose films? And if so, what happened with Maestro?
They spent too much on the nose.
They spent too much on they spent too much money constructing that wonderful nose. Yeah. We have talked about this nose an awful lot.
It's a big, very big nose.
I guess we bring it to a conclusion on Maestro by saying that I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. You did like it. It was for you. Let's call it a draw.
No, I don't. No. I've just spent however many minutes talking about all the things that were
you
wrong
loved
with
it. I get it, Hannah. It's your favourite film.
It was for you. Yeah, I mean, I guess bottom line is you were never going to like it.
No, I was primed not to like it for all sorts of different reasons. I can respect elements of it, but I also object to it having been made or anyone involved with this film ever working again.
I think if you took out the nose,
okay,
you'd still have some issues.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I got lucky with the way that I saw it and when I saw it, and the more I thought about it afterwards, the more it fell apart. I think there are some very interesting things done with it. Considering all the things he was doing, I think Bradley Cooper did quite a good job. I think he would have done a better job if he had chosen to either direct or act.
Yep.
And I think if he had done one of those things, he would have done it so much better. Based on how much he's talked about how he feels towards Leonard Bernstein and his works and the performance that he did, minus the nose, I think probably acting in it was the right decision.
Sure, yeah, no, yeah.
I think he did a really good job. So let someone else direct it.
Yeah. I think what we're both saying is we're very interested to see what he does next. But for this one, 0 out of 10 and put him in the stocks in the public square.
So I did find a review that I thought you would like.
Oh, yeah.
So this is on Millennial Falcon Reviews.
My favourite review site.
So this is the fine. It's a long review. I'm just going to read you the end.
Okay.
Maestro is a shameful attempt at telling Leonard...
I like it already.
at telling Leonard Bernstein's complex history, and it fails to impress at every turn. Cooper may have been a solid choice as a director for the film, but he was the wrong man to tell Bernstein's story and a poor choice to play the role. Bernstein may have been a troubled man, but Cooper's bumbling flailing is a mockery. Is a mockery of a man who played a part in crafting the soundtrack of the 20th century and today. Final verdict, C-.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty fair review.
It's very slating. I recommend you checking it out. Oh, this is interesting. So the two reviews either side are The Holdovers and Saltburn, neither of which I liked.
Oh, okay. I did see Holdovers. I did like it. I haven't seen Saltburn.
I mean, it's not that good. I'm just gasping because I'm like, how are we going to do an episode on it if you haven't seen it?
Oh, I'll watch it. No, I had the opportunity to watch either Chicken Run 2 or Saltburn, and
I want to say that you made the right choice, but I've seen Chicken Run 2.
Yeah, the first one's so good.
The thing that's so amazing about Chicken Run is the density of jokes.
Yeah.
Every single line or visual is funny. Everything.
Yeah, I rewatched the first one not long ago, and it stands up completely.
It's masterful. It's so good, and it just gets better the more you watch it because you get the references more and you know what they're referring to, and you know it's one of those where it really works for kids and for adults.
Yeah, Chicken Run 2 wasn't it, was it?
No, it was so sad.
I preferred it to Maestro though.
Oh, brutal. So